Tuachana na sisi. Mira, ngoja tu arudi. Ila tunajua mko na sura mbaya.
Ni juu. Ni wana
Demu yake sura mbaya hapo.
Nani huko?
Hii chini. Ndio hiyo topic sasa hivi ndio hii. Mcho yake ni ni juu ama ya hapa.
Ndio mmoja.
Picture bila picture. Picture mfasi jifunike. Onda bipesi kwa lazi. Aje jifunike.
Jifunike jichetu. Nikiweka
Corruption. Na kwa hivyo hapo ni ndio mabanda.
moja kana pia.
Hebu open it. Uja open it. Unaona uko na ndogo karibu kwa
Nimesema. Ni download.
Download sasa kama iko mbele huko.
So good afternoon, students, and welcome to our lesson on communication skills. We have been able to do so far a number of skills. We began by defining what communication is. We looked at some fundamental aspects of our communication process. And we said that because it is a process, there are certain elements that must be present before communication is said to be effective or to be happening. We then went ahead and looked at types of communication, where we looked at the verbal communication, we looked at the non-verbal communication, and we also looked at the written communication. I said that all these types of communications are important in various fora. One may be ineffective in one fora, but it may be useful in another. I also asked you to look at the challenges of each of these types of communication, some of which you already know, and some of which you can think about, as well as get some information from our notes. Looking at, after looking at the fundamentals of communication, we went on to look at listening skills. And we said that listening is one of the skills that we develop, is one of the skills that we develop. Hello? Yes. Call me after some few minutes. I'm on an online class. So we said that listening is one of the skills that we develop, is one of the things that we do even when we are in our mother's womb. It is said, scholars have established that even unborn babies can be able to listen. They can listen to music, they can listen to the sounds outside the womb. However, we said that although we have been listening for a long time, we need to develop effective listening, especially for our academic life, and also for future when we become professionals, and also when we become, or when we enter into the stage of being married, we'll need to have effective listening skills. Even when we have children, we'll need to have effective listening skills so that we can be able to listen to them. However, our greatest focus was on listening for academic purposes. Then we looked at note-taking, which is quite related to listening. And a good number of your courses are offered to you in a face-to-face mode, meaning that you sit before a lecturer who makes a presentation to you in regard to a topic of the day. And so you need to be able to develop effective listening in order to be able to get some information from that lesson. Otherwise, there is a possibility that you could be present in the lecture environment, but you end up missing out on all that the lecturer is making presentation of. And so some of the ways in which you are going to be a good listener is by taking notes. And taking notes, we said, is important because it will assist you to be able to focus on the speaker, to be able to capture information for future reference, and also to be able to understand and follow the gist of the lecture. We last week were able to look at speaking. We're able to look at speaking skills, And under speaking skills, we were able to establish the speaking, the modes we can use to engage in oral presentation. We talked about the impromptu speech type. We talked about the extemporaneous. We talked about the manuscript, and even the one where we are able to cram or to commit to memory what we have set to talk about, that is the memorized speech type. Now, we also looked at an effective speaker. And I remember telling you that you have listened to many people, but there are those that you can categorize as good speakers, and then there are those who you can categorize as poor speakers. And we said good speakers have certain characteristics which we went ahead to identify. Then we finished off by looking at group communication, and we said that as a student at the level of university, you will work in groups together with other students. And I asked you to look around the university. You will see our students of year 2, year 3. You realize that they like sitting in groups. It is something that they have established as being useful. And as they sit in groups, they are what we call group dynamics that have to do with communication. And so you need to be able to communicate in a group in an effective manner. And we looked at some of the skills that you need to develop, skills like turn taking, skills like being able to seek clarification, being able to give, to explain yourself in a way that is understood by your colleagues in the group. So you will be expected beginning from this semester to be able to work in a group, and the group dynamics will come into play, and so communication will be important. And I also pointed out to you that it is not just in academics where we do work in a group, but even when you go out to be a professional, you will work in groups. And therefore, you need to be able to communicate effectively, be able to seek clarification, be able to give explanations, be able to observe turn taking, and all that it takes to work in a group. And so today, we want to focus on something else that is related to our academics, and that is study skills. Now, study skills are key aspects of a student's life, and the difference between one student and another and their performance in a university or at a university level is subject to their study abilities, how they are able to study. The grades of one person may be higher and those of another may be lower, courtesy of their study abilities and study skills. And so we want to look at a definition of what is to study and what are study skills. We'll also try to differentiate between studying and reading, because sometimes people tend to think that when they are reading, they are studying. But that may not be the truth. You can, of course, when you study, you have to begin from reading and then to the level of studying. But studying and reading, there is a thin line that separates the two. And then we'll try to look at how to set up an effective study program, because it is important for you to succeed as a student in Kibabi University. And you'll only succeed when you have an effective study program. We'll look at then the activities that you will engage in the process of studying, what activities will make the study period effective and useful for you. And then finally, we'll look at budgeting of time and resources, because those form part of what you'll do in the process of studying. Now, let us look at a number of definitions. As always, I usually say there are very many definitions of any word that we'll look at, but I have specifically chosen these three to be able to help us understand what studying is. And the first one says to study is to give careful consideration to something, to learn something new. You can see I've bolded the words careful consideration. The second one says to acquire knowledge or understanding of a subject. That is called studying. And number 3, studying is a purposeful process that you use to read, understand, and organize information so that it can be recalled when needed. Again, I have bolded purposeful process. Now, student, this is what these definitions seem to imply. They imply that studying is a careful process. It is something that you do with a focus. It is something you decide to do. And you are doing this because you want to learn, you want to understand, you want to organize information because later on you wish to recall this information. So when we are studying, we are doing it purposefully. And when we are studying, it's with the intention to understand and later recall. Now, what do we mean by study skills? Study skills are abilities that you can develop in order to improve your capacity to learn. They are abilities, and abilities are things we learn. They are techniques that you use to acquire knowledge or understanding of a subject. They are habits that you develop in order to enhance your ability to improve your college grades. So when we're talking about study skills, we're talking about those habits, those abilities, those techniques that you need to develop. That means they are not there in the beginning, but you need to develop them. And it is with the reason that you want to improve your capacity to learn, you want to improve your understanding of a subject, and you also wish to improve your college grades. I want to tell you, student, that having arrived in Kibabi University, your sole purpose is to go to class, is to get time to read, it's to get time to do your exams well and be able to succeed in your academics. Because a good certificate in Kenya still is able to open doors. It is not, we have not given up on our certificates. Our certificates are able to open doors for us. And how will they do this? They will only do this, or will only get good certificates when we put our mind to studying. And we'll put our mind to studying when we develop good study skills. Now, you know that a habit is anything that you do continually, you do often, and in so doing, you develop the ability to do it without much thought. So when we develop study skills, we'll be able to do it continually, and we'll be able to see the good results of our skills. Now, students, as I said before, there are people who have this mind that studying is similar to reading. But scholars have established that these two are separated, they are different. Although very narrowly, but they are separated. Reading is a process where you make sense of written symbols. If you make sense of written symbols using your eyes, then we say you are reading. Of course, people who are blind or who do not have visual ability will read using their fingers. So that process of making sense of written symbols is what we call reading. When we come to studying, it is an activity of purposeful reading. That means studying takes reading to another level. When we talk about studying, we have moved from reading. It emerges from reading, but it takes the process a bit further. I am sure you remember in your days as a young child, when you'd sit at the table to study, and when your parent comes up around and asks, what have you been studying or what have you been reading? You realize that you do not remember anything about what you have read. The reason is you are reading and you are not studying. You had just taken the first step of reading, that is of making sense of the written symbols, but you needed to go further to purposefully try to comprehend and to recall the information. So anytime you are sitting at the table, try to establish, are you reading or are you studying? Because if you are reading, then you may not remember the information. But when you are studying, there's a possibility that you will focus more on trying to understand, to comprehend, and therefore you'll be able to recall. Now, studying requires a conducive environment. It cannot happen just anywhere. It requires you to be in good health because it is a focused activity. It will require you to concentrate. It will require that you have something in your stomach. You have eaten a balanced diet. It will require that you have rest in order to improve your memory. So you realize that studying is a bit demanding. It demands more than what we do with reading. Reading, we only need our books, and you need your eyes, good eyesight, and you'll be able to read and have an understanding of the language in which the material is written. Then you'll be able to read. However, studying will require more than that. Now, we have what we call important study skills. I want you to have them in mind that when we're talking about study skills, we will need to have skills like skills of time management. Because when we're studying, we need to be careful about how we manage our time. At the university, time is limited. You may think that you have all the time. The truth is you have no time at all unless you manage the time. I know that this far you may not have established this, but we have students who have been in Kibabi University for some time. Their comrades already graduated. Some of them could even be working somewhere, but these comrades have remained in Kibabi because they did not manage their time well. They thought that 24 hours is a long time which they can spend carelessly, sleep for as long as they want, party as much as they want, miss classes as much, or they're still on campus, they're still our students, some of them for 5 years, some of them for 6 years. So if you have to manage, if you have to engage well with your academics, then you must be able to manage your time. You must be able to have information skills, skills of seeking for information, looking for information in the right places. The right places, of course, are likely to be the library, they are likely to be your lecturers, and most importantly, they are likely to be your colleagues. Your colleagues, when you sit together, the people from the coast said this, that when we put our minds together, we are able to achieve a lot. When you put our minds together, we are able to achieve a lot. So you should know where to seek for information. Information seeking skills are important study skills. The skill of listening to lectures and taking notes, that's an important study skill, because when you'll sit down, you'll need the notes. You'll need some background information which you might have received during the lecture. Academic reading skills, not just reading, but academic reading, academic writing skills, referencing and avoiding plagiarism, presentation skills, working in groups, and finally, examination skills. These skills, we'll be looking at them as we go along. So it is important that you know that once a student, you should be able to develop these skills if you are to manage your time, if you're to manage your life as an academician. Now, students, why do you need study skills? You realize you need study skills if you realize the following 5 things or even more. For example, number 1, you get nervous and anxious before a test, then it means your study skills have a problem. You need to develop them. Number 2, if you realize that you don't feel very confident when it's time to take the exam, then it means that your study skills require to be improved. Number 3, when you don't remember much information after you have spent time studying, you have spent, let us say, an hour, but you don't remember anything, then it means your study skills have a problem. They need to be improved. Number 4, if you find it hard to stay focused when you're trying to study, you are sitting at the table or you're sitting with friends and you're trying to work on something, but your mind is at home, your mind is on the next meal, your mind is on your fees, your mind is on many things, then your study skills need to be improved. And lastly, if you don't do as well as you think you should in the exams, then it means that there is a problem with how you are engaging in studying. So it is important for all of us, because I know that at one point or another, we suffer these 5 things. Either we are anxious when we hear that the exams are coming, or we sit for the exams, then we realize the results are not good, or we are sitting at the table trying to read, and when someone asks us, what have we been reading? We cannot even remember the topic, or if we remember the topic, we cannot remember the content. Or when we sit down to study, we find it hard to stay focused. So what I'm saying is that we are qualified to be the people who need to start to understand study skills. Now, an effective study program has certain elements, and these elements are key to helping you to succeed as a university student. These are important aspects of your study program. And this study program, no one will make it for you. At this level, I know when you are received during the orientation, you are told that you now have to guide your life. As a university student, you have to make your decisions, you have to make choices, and you have to live by them. So one of the choices you need to do is to establish a study program. And these are the elements. Number 1, you need a study timetable. I'm going to focus on it next. You need a good study environment. I'll also give you details about that. Then you need study groups, people that you can work with. Then you need study activities. You need to establish clearly that when I am sitting down, when I have allocated time on my timetable, and I'm saying that I am studying, I need to know what activities I will engage in. And then lastly, you will need to budget for resources. Now let us begin by looking at the study timetable. Now all of us have 24 hours as students. We have 24 hours. We have 42 weeks, 40 of which we will undertake our classes, our lectures, and our continuous assessment tests, 2 of which will then undertake our end of semester exams. These hours are all available for you in your hands and under your control. So this is what you need to do. You need to come up with a timetable. In the timetable, consider the hours you need for reading the units in each course. Consider the hours you need for reading the units in each course, because each course lecturer will come and give you the content. They will come and point out to you the texts which you will need to read. When you go to the lecture rooms, you will take down notes. You need time for reading those notes. It is advisable that you do not pile information on top of each other. You should be able to refresh your mind about what you have been reading or what you have been receiving in the lecture rooms, and even what you have been able to read in your personal study in the library, for example. Number 2, in your study timetable, you need to establish clearly the hours that you will spend in the lecture room. And I think this is where we should begin. Create a timetable where you fit in first your lecture hours, which are the lessons, which are the courses that you'll be undertaking on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So allocate those clearly on your timetable. Then now all the others can fit in. Then number 3, you need to have self-study hours. These are times when you will do your own personal reading. You're not reading with a neighbor, you're reading on your own. This could be time where you can go to the library and borrow books and come and read, or you can go online and read the online content and read information that is online regarding, let us say, a topic, regarding a unit. So self-study hours, those are hours that you also need to establish clearly on your timetable. Then number 3, you need to establish clearly the discussion hours. These are times when you'll be able to interact with your colleagues, either on the platform, the e-learning platform, which is also called the Moodle platform, or in a face-to-face situation where you sit together in a circle and try to understand the content that you have learned. So this is also very important time. So you will not just spend all your time in self-study. When you discuss and work with other people, information becomes clearer, because we all have different ways of understanding. We all have different ways of grasping information. So whenever we sit together, we are doing this because we want to be able to share our understanding. And when we do that in a group, then we are able to solidify our understanding of a concept. So discussion hours are important. Put them on your timetable. You need also to have a break. It is not all reading. Not every time should be for reading. There should be time when you can relax, time when you can take your meals, time when you can even go for a game if you're good in games, or you have a hobby, like you have a hobby of singing, or you have a hobby, or you can participate in a club or society. It's important that you also have that timetabled. I usually tell my students that once you come to the university, there will be so much time for you to go to the lectures, to go to the library, to be able to sit in discussion groups, that you also need to include time for break, time for leisure. If you enjoyed reading storybooks, if you enjoyed reading newspapers, there should be time on your timetable when you can go to the library and read the newspapers, borrow storybooks and read them. Go and watch a movie. These days you can watch a movie on your laptop. Have that time. I even encourage my students and say, take a walk to Bungoma town. Kibabi University is very close to Bungoma town. Bungoma town is our administrative headquarters. Go there, find out where are these and that offices. Walk around in the town, see how people are interacting. Go to the shops. If you are a young man, encourage your desire for a car by visiting the car bazaars. Look at the cars and tell yourself that one day I will own a car. If you are a lady, go to the boutiques and look at the nice clothes. That kind of motivation is useful. It will help you to relax. When you come back to your work, you'll be able to work with a fresh motivation, a new energy, and you'll be able to achieve what you intend to achieve. So take time for break, time even to sleep. It is suggested that you should be able to sleep between 6 and 8 hours. So take time to sleep. It is not all about you reading the whole night, the whole day you're in class, and you have no rest. God made us to rest. So we need rest. And your body will tell you when it is tired that you are tired and you cannot study. So take a rest. We're also saying that you need time to research and complete your assignments. Every lecturer will come and give you assignments, and you cannot complain and say, I do not have the time to undertake my research. It will be expected that you submit your assignments on time. It will be expected that you do your research, that if there's anything that you're presenting as a group, you are able to do that presentation with information that has been gotten from the library or from certain other research sources. So it is important that you timetable time for doing your assignments. Don't just put lecture hours and relaxation time. There should also be time for you to undertake your assignments. Now, the study environment. We said studying is focused. It's a focused process. And therefore, we require a place where this can happen. And a good, favorable study environment will contribute to your success. When the environment is good and favorable, you'll be able to achieve in terms of what you're trying to learn, in terms of what you're trying to get. And so an effective or a good, favorable study environment has the following features. Number one, it should be well lit to enable you to see without straining. You're going to be reading, you're going to be focusing on some written symbols. So you need a place that is well lit, a place where you're not struggling to see the letters, you're not struggling to read, you can be able to see. Because you're going to do a lot of reading as a student in Kibabi University, you need your eyes, you need good eyesight. But this eyesight can be destroyed if you're straining, reading in a dark environment, reading in a dark room. So take care of your eyesight by ensuring that anytime you wish to study, you are doing so in a room that is well lit. You're doing so in a place that is well lit. And that's why you'll see sometimes our students will be out there in the field under the trees in places where they have good lighting. Number two, the place should be free from distractions and noise. Whenever you are studying because you are focusing, you may want to avoid noise. You may want to avoid things that will take away your attention, that will take away your focus. Some of this could include a friend who is excited about, let us say, an issue on their phone, or they want to take you out. They do not understand that on your timetable, you had planned to do self-study. So your friend can become a detractor. They can distract you from what you're doing. It could be noise from a noisy environment. If you realize that you're in a place where there is so much noise, it will be impossible to focus. So look for a place that is quiet, that affords you, if there is any noise, it should be minimal. A place where you can then be able to focus on the information. And I want to say that Kibabi University environment offers you this. Our hostels are well made. Our lecture rooms are well situated. So you can be able to find a corner in an empty lecture room and you can be able to read without any distraction and with minimal noise. Number three, a study environment that is favorable should have comfortable furniture. When we talk about comfortable furniture, we're not talking about that furniture that will allow you to be so comfortable that you will sleep. It should be furniture that allows you to have minimal pains as you sit to read. This will involve a good, nice table, a chair. It will involve a place where there is good furniture, actually good furniture that does not allow you to slouch or to just lie down and rest. Some people say that they prefer studying while on their beds. I don't know how that works. But one thing I know is that there is a possibility that while you're lying on the bed, your brain will tell your body that you have arrived at a safe place. You have arrived at a place of comfort. And so close your eyes and sleep. So there's a possibility that studying from a bed may be an impossibility. It may just be difficult. Or sitting on a chair that is too comfortable, that where you sit and you go in, you sag inside, may also cause you to be too comfortable and therefore to want to sleep. But we're saying a good chair, like the chairs in Kibabi University, the tables even in the rooms and in the hostels, they have been made with that in mind, to allow you comfort as you read. Number 4, it should be a well-aerated room. A good study environment is well-aerated. Remember when we were looking at the definition of studying, we said it is a focused activity, it's a purposeful activity, it's a careful activity, meaning that you need to be sober in your mind. Your mind needs to be fresh without any disturbance. You should be able to decide on what to read and what not to read and how far to read, because your mind is well fed with air, with oxygen. If you have taken some time reading biology, you know that our brains are fed on oxygen. So if you are sitting in a room where oxygen is scarce, where you have a lot of things congested in the room and breathing is a difficult process, there is a possibility that you'll want to sleep. There's a possibility that you may be disturbed, and therefore you will be unable to focus on what you are doing in terms of reading. So a room that is well ventilated, well aerated, where air is able to pass in and out, will help you to stay focused, will help you to be comfortable, and will also ensure that what you are doing in terms of reading is well received by your brain. It should also be a place where you have enough space to hold the reading materials. I've seen students sometimes when they go to for example, the library, they want to pick all the books in the area of study and put them around themselves. And they tell themselves that now they are studying. The truth is, when your brain perceives that there is too much that is required of it, you have this book that is 1,000 pages, another one that is 500 pages, another one that is 2,000 pages, and they are all in front of you. Your brain will tell you that is an impossibility. It will be too much for your brain. And your brain will most likely tell you that you need a break, you need to rest, you need to sleep, you need to give up on reading. The truth is, you will have discouraged yourself by putting too much information, too much things in front of you. So once you are set on studying, ensure that your reading space, your table, is cleared of all the clutter. Reduce the kind of things that are in front of you or on your reading table. Ensure that you have minimum materials on your table so that your brain can be able to process the idea that it is not being forced to take down too much. And then you will be able to focus on your study. The room should not be too cold or too hot. And I'm sure you can explain that, because when a room is too cold, you'll be struggling to make yourself warm. If the room is too hot, you'll be struggling to make yourself cool by either moving out of the place and therefore distracting your train of thought. You may want to open the windows. You may want even to stop reading or to postpone the reading to another time. So the room should be moderately, it should have moderate temperatures that will allow you to then do the most necessary thing, which is to study. So these aspects of the study environment are aspects that you can create. We are not saying that they should be created for you. You can create them. For example, you can ensure that where you are reading, it is well lit, it is well aerated. You can ensure that the furniture you're using is such that it is comfortable for you, but it is not too comfortable to make you lose focus. You can ensure that that the noise around you is minimized, or if it cannot be minimized, then move to a place where there is minimal noise, minimal distraction, so that you can then be able to focus on your reading. Another very important aspect of studying are the study groups. What you have been seeing our students, our second years, our third years doing is they have been working in groups. We call those study groups. And study groups are important because of a number of reasons, which I'll give you. But I want us to look at the characteristics of an effective study group. How can you come up with a study group? Number one, you should look for friends and colleagues who have a common goal to achieve. And the most important goal to achieve is to be able to understand your course content and to be able to do well in your examinations. So if you find people who have that goal, then those are people that you can work with. Those are people that you can sit with and then pursue your goal together. Of course, you may not have known because you are relatively new, but you realize that there are some members of your class even who have no interest in achieving academically. They are just there. They were just brought by their parents and they're just passing time. They have no intention of achieving a good certificate. They have no intention of passing the exams. They have no intention of understanding their course content. So those are people to shun away from. Look for people who have the same goal like you, who want to achieve like you, who are willing to sacrifice their time, their energy to be able to work together. They're even willing to share their ideas. Because sometimes you can have people in a group who are unwilling to share their ideas. And if they are unwilling, then you're not going to achieve a common goal. The goal is that all of you in that group should be able to achieve academically, should be able to understand your courses, and you should be able to come out of Kibabi University with a good degree. The second characteristic is that a good group, study group, should always have a leader. Any group without a leader is a group that has no purpose, it has no direction, and it's likely to fail, it's likely to disintegrate. A leader will hold members to accountability. A leader will arbitrate when there are issues in the group. A leader will provide direction for the activities of the group. So every group should have a leader. We don't say that the leader should just be one person. The leader can be one this semester, or it can be so and so this semester. Next semester, you can choose another person. The next semester, another person, like that. But there should be someone who holds the group to accountability. Someone who can remind members that we agreed that we are meeting on Monday at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Someone who says we are going to make our contributions to this topic in this and that manner. Someone who says that because of unforeseen circumstances, we are going to be away from our groups this week and we're going to meet next week. Someone who can provide direction. And I want to tell you, students, that working in a group has helped some students become great leaders. They have pursued leadership at the university level. Some have even gone on to pursue leadership at the governance level. We have students who have become MCAs, and I'm sure in the near future, we'll have MPs and even governors and senators having come from Kibabi. And they have been nurtured through their leadership at the group level. Because when you're leading people at the group level, you begin to understand group dynamics. You begin to exercise authority. You begin to plan, and you begin to see possibilities that you can improve your group. So it is good to take up leadership in the group, in the study group. I want to say this, that when you're looking to set up an effective group, look for people who are not your close relatives or friends. And if I was to ask, I'm sure you'll give me reasons why they should not be your close relatives or friends. One of the reasons is when people who are close relatives or friends sit together, their focus is likely to be on other things apart from academics. For example, friends will be talking about their favorite football team, or if they are girls, they could be talking about their favorite fashion. If they're close relatives, they will be talking about the happenings at home, perhaps funerals, perhaps upcoming weddings, perhaps upcoming graduations of relatives. So things or the discussion is likely to be distant from academic issues. They are likely to waste time on their personal things before they settle in the group academic purpose. So it is important that when you're looking for people to form a study group with, they should not be very close relatives. They should not be very close friends. And if they are, then it's important that they agree that they are going to work according to the principles of the group. They are not going to begin to bring in their personal issues, their relative issues. They are going to look at issues according to the group and according to what activities have been planned by the group leader. I also want to say this, that a good group should consist of between 4 to 6 people. A very large group is likely to have challenges in terms of being guided, in terms of presentations, in terms of how they do their things. A very small group also may have challenges in terms of their contributions. They may be so few that they are not able to contribute well to the issues at hand. So a good group is between 4 to 6 people. Of course, you can go even to about 10 people, but we're saying do not make the group too big. A very big group is likely to bring issues of leadership, issues of working together, issues of working on the group tasks. Now, we have tips about organizing a successful study group. We're saying one of the things that can make a group successful is when you take turns to organize the work. For example, have a rotational chairperson. The chairperson should not just be one individual. It can be rotational. This semester, one person, next semester, another person. Another thing you can do is to fix meetings regularly and also ensure a common venue so that members can be able to tell where to find the meeting. they can be able to tell, or they can be able to remember the time. Always fix the next meeting in the current meeting. So if, for example, we are meeting today to discuss about communication skills, then before we part from this meeting today, we should agree that our next meeting will be on this date, and it will be in this, at this time, and in this venue. And we're saying make the venue a common venue, so that every time, even if I forget, if I am a member of the group, even if I forget, I can be able still to trace the meeting, because it is a common place and it's a regular time. We also say that all members of the group should participate. There are certain members of a group who are a know-it-all. They are the ones who will say everything in the group. That is not a very good thing. And the leader of the group should be able to moderate such characters. And then there are those who are silent listeners to every conversation. So they will not say anything in the group. Again, the group leader should be able to moderate that. We do not want to have people who are only feeding on what other people have sourced. They should also bring something to the group. And so the group leader should be able to organize, so that if so-and-so is preparing on this topic, another person is preparing on another topic, and like that, to ensure that every member of the group has an opportunity to make a presentation, has an opportunity to ask a question, has an opportunity to share information, to share a resource, and they will then feel important members of the group. I want to say this, that working in a group enables what was a difficult task to be made simple by the contributions of other members of the group. So working in a group enables tasks to be undertaken with ease and within a very limited time. So always work in a group. If you have a group assignment, the better you do it together, because by so doing, you are able to achieve much than if you worked alone. Again, when you work in a group, you'll be able to understand group dynamics. And as I said before, when you go out there as a professional, you will be expected to work in a group, in a team. So what you're doing now by working in groups, working in study groups, what you're doing is you're now getting used to the idea. You will not be a stranger when you land in an organization and they require you to work in a team. You will already know that in a team, there can be people who are quiet. In a team, you can have people who are know-it-all. In a team, we have people who will push agenda. In a team, we have people who will be leaders and all that kind of thing. And you can choose the place where you want to fall in the group dynamics. So it is important that you participate in a group. And as I told you before, in Kibabi, it's not about being number one. It is about all of us working together. The beautiful thing I've come to discover about working in a group is that when you work in a group and you share information one with another, you end up becoming much better and more proficient in the information you're sharing. Let us take, for example, a teacher. There is no teacher who has ever been deficient in terms of what they want to share with their students. It is because the teacher repeats this information, shares information with students. So if you want to be better even at calculations, better at remembering information, better at a topic, be part of those who will share the information with the group, so that every time the leader is allocating people who will share information, be willing to be part of those who will share. In so doing, you will improve in terms of your understanding of the topic. And finally, before I leave that area of study group, I want to say this, that in my experience of working in Kibabi University, I have seen students working in groups to the level that they even take care of each other's welfare. It has been noted that at times, students can be in very hard situations. Many students come from very humble backgrounds. And sometimes things can happen along the way as you live. You may lose a parent, you may lose a child, something may happen to you in the process of life. We don't wish it, but it comes. It is the members of your study group who have been used to working with you, who have understood your connection with them, who have understood your contribution in the group, who will again be the ones to stand with you when situations are difficult. So do not live a solo life. Do not live a life of being alone. Strive to work with others. In so doing, you will be improving not only your academics, but even your social life. So work with others, and that will help you be able to make it in Kibabi. Students, I want to talk about the study activities. We have said that when you are sitting down to engage in studying, you must have a focus of what you need to do or what needs to be done. And one of the things you need to do during the study is to review your lecture notes. It is important to know that if your lecturers are consistent in terms of coming to the lectures, you will end up in 1 month having a lot of information. You will end up having piles and piles of notes. So very importantly, you cannot leave those notes to sit and wait until the examination timetable is released. It's important that you find time to read. I usually propose to students that you review your notes on a fortnightly basis. That means you will have taken 2 lecture sessions. Let us say a lecture session this week and a lecture session next week, and then you go through the notes, you review the notes. This will also help you to connect what you are hearing now with what you have already written down. So take time to review your notes. You can do that at an individual level. You can also do that together with colleagues. For example, in the communication skills course, we have looked at fundamentals of communication. We have looked at types of communication. We have looked at listening skills. We have looked at reading skills, speaking skills. We have looked at note-taking, and now we are looking at study skills. What can happen is that together with your study group members, you can give each person to look at one of the topics, So you have about 6 people or 5 people making presentations. The first one will talk about fundamentals of communication. Another one will talk about the types of communication. Another one will look at listening. Another one will look at note-taking. Another one will look at speaking. Another one will look at study skills. So in the end analysis, each one of you will have gone through the notes. It may be in a single session, but all of you will have gone through the notes as per this time where we are. So reviewing your notes is an important way of helping you connect information shared with you over a period of time. Number 2 study activity is to read textbooks. I usually tell my students that in the textbooks is a lot of information that your lecturer cannot provide for you. We simply have very little time with you in the lecture room or even online. So a lot of the information left out, which you need to look for, is found in the library, in the textbooks which we have provided for you or which we have guided you to be able to borrow using our course outline. At the bottom of the course outline, we have written their textbooks. Core texts, we have even written supplementary texts. So these textbooks, you can go and borrow. Later on under library skills, we'll be able to understand that there are those books that you can borrow for a period of time like 2 weeks. And we also have textbooks that you can only borrow overnight, which are called the short loan texts. There are other books that you can just read in the library, but what you're doing is you're studying. And as you read, make notes as well, because you may go back to the text again and you may never find it. Materials in the library will be on a limited or are usually limited. So if you finish with the text today, someone else will borrow and you may not be able to touch it again for some time. Another activity is to think and recall what you have read. Sometimes students just read and read and read, but they never seek to think and recall what they have read. We'll look at this more keenly when we'll be looking at reading skills, how you can think and recall about what you have read. Number 4, we are saying you need to also revisit past papers. You are not the first one to undertake the course you are undertaking. Kibabi has been in existence from the year 2012. So many papers are present in the library, and some of them are with your relatives and next of kin who have sat for exams in Kibabi. So revisit those past papers. By so doing, you'll be enhancing your understanding of how examinations are set in your area of specialization. So revising past papers is one of the things you can do in the course of study. And I've said you can do this alone, or you can do it in the study group. You can revise past papers. Then engage in discussion with colleagues. That is a study group. That is a study activity you can engage in. Working with colleagues in a study group, discussing either an assignment or discussing notes or even discussing your lecture notes. And lastly, another activity you can engage in is to research for answers to assignments or projects given in class. Usually lecturers, as I said, will give you assignments. They will give you tasks which they want you to undertake. Now, these tasks will require that you go out of your way to look for answers. And you look for answers either in the textbooks in the library, you look for answers in the discussion group, you look for answers in your lecture notes, but something must be done to get the answers for the assignments. And so you'll do this in the process of studying. Student, when you look at these study activities, you realize that they actually are what has brought you to Kibabi. You have come to listen to the lectures, take the lecture notes. You've come to read the textbooks in your area of specialization. You've come to undertake exams, and so you need to revise past papers. You've come to do research, to find information that is useful for answering assignments or projects that are given to you. So if you are able to undertake these activities, then your knowledge base, your understanding of your course area will be much better than that one of someone who only goes to the lectures and does not do anything extra in terms of improving their knowledge. Oh, students, we are talking about budgeting resources, and especially budgeting and purchasing reading materials. Perhaps when you came to Kibabi, you said, now I have rested, I'll not be buying materials. But I want you to understand that some of the materials that are necessary for your course may be in short supply. So you need to be able to go out of your way and purchase some of these materials for yourself in order to ensure that your study is smooth and that you are able to achieve as much as you can in terms of your understanding of the topic or course. Then you may want to purchase materials. These materials could be in the form of textbooks. They could be in the form of instruments that are related to your area of study. And so when you do purchase reading materials, you will want to consider, number one, availability. Is the textbook you want available? It could be available in the library, in the bookshop in town. It could also be available on the streets. We have books. If you visited Bungoma town, you find books on the streets. So there are some of those books that are relevant to your area of study. Or you can walk into a bookshop and purchase brand new materials. Another thing to consider, you need to consider how comprehensive it has covered the topics of your interest. Usually, you can look through a textbook, look at the table of contents, and look at it vis-a-vis the course outline. The course outline gives you the topics that will be covered in a course. Now, compare that with the topics that are listed in the table of contents of a textbook. If the textbook covers a lot of those topics that have been given to you in the course outline, then that is a good material to pick, because that means it will provide information for you to the level that you'll be able to take care of the expenses you have put in terms of buying the material. Then we're also saying, look for affordability. How affordable is the material? And that's why I was telling you, you can either go to the bookshop and buy a brand new material, or you can look at the books in our streets. Of course, if they're not available in the streets, then the bookshop would be the best place. And finally, when you are buying material, consider the age of the material. You don't want to purchase information or to buy a material that has information that is outdated. Look at the year when it was published. Look for material that is quite recent, not information that has been overtaken by time. So the closer the year of publication to the time, the better the material. A book, for example, that was published in 1968 will have information that has been overtaken by a lot of research that has been done. So you want current information. Look for materials that are at most 20 years, I should think, would be good. Such materials will be useful. Materials that are 10 years would also be useful. And of course, below 5 years, most useful, because then the research and the kind of knowledge they are bringing up is very recent knowledge. Now, in conclusion, student, I want to say this, which I said as we began. I said in the university, the differences in grades is a result of study habits. So it's important for you to choose your habits wisely. If you hear that someone has a first class and another one has a fail in the university, it is a result of their study habits. A person who is able to put these ideas into use and establish a habit of studying will be able to make good grades. A person who will not consider these ideas is likely to waste their time and therefore end up performing very poorly. What you do every day will define who you become. If every day you can be able to undertake an aspect of studying, perhaps in terms of reviewing your notes, in terms of engaging in self-study, in terms of going to the library and looking for library materials, doing discussions with colleagues, if you do something regularly, you will become what you intend to become. And I want to say this, that habits take time to develop. So begin now. For you to be successful, begin now. Do not say, I'll wait for the time of the exam to be able to work, to be able to create a group. Or I'll wait until the end of first year to join a group. Developing a habit takes time. So begin developing the habits now. After this lecture, find people who are like-minded, who have a goal like you, and begin together with them to chart a plan for your success in your academics. To build good habits, number one, you should avoid procrastination. Procrastination, there is a saying that says that procrastination is the lazy man's excuse. Procrastination is the lazy man's excuse. What that means is that a person who is lazy will always postpone things to tomorrow. So you have learned about study skills today, you have learned about study groups, you have learned about study environment, study timetable. Begin to work on it now. Do not postpone to another time, because once you do that, then you will reap the benefits or the things that come out of living a life of laziness, a life of procrastination. Number two, avoid distractions. Always ensure that you guard your study time with a lot of your strength. If there is anything that is likely to distract you, work on it. Remove anything that will distract you. Avoid people that will distract you. Avoid an environment that will bring distractions, and begin to work on your peace so that you can be able to study. Also, manage your time. Time is of essence. I said, you may think that 4 years is a long time. You may think that 24 hours is a long, long time. But I want to tell you this, that very soon you'll be entering your third year, and your exit will be so clear. Your exit will be imminent. You will be on your way out of Kibabi. You'll be on your way out into the job market, and you'll be on your way out into the world. So it is important for you to manage your time. And how do you manage your time? Plan it. We have already said we need a study timetable. And in that timetable, you realize that we were able to cater for all the 24 hours. We had time for the lectures. We had time for your self-study. We had time for you to go to the library. We had time for you to do discussions with colleagues. And we had time for breaks. We had time for research. It is important that you manage your time. You do not walk around aimlessly. Once you are out walking, it is because you are taking your break. And schedule your breaks well. You have the weekend, schedule your breaks well. Take even time to address your spiritual side, so that you are not just a person who is always studying. You also have a spiritual side, take care of it. And finally, have a study plan. A study plan will help you achieve. It will help you not only to be prepared during the exams, but it will also help you to be prepared anytime you are called upon to make a presentation in terms of your abilities. Now, students, I've been able to source what I call 7 habits of successful students. You realize that some of the things we have talked about are part of the habits of successful students. The student here is an A student. They have been successful because they have budgeted their time well. Number two, they are organized. They have stayed organized. Everything is in place. Number three, they live healthily. They eat well, they sleep well, they play games, they enjoy company. Number four, they indulge in other activities, their hobbies. They engage in health, fitness procedures. Number five, they communicate with family. They communicate with family so that they are in touch with the reality. You have not come to Kibabi to another world. You have come you should be connected to your people, be able to connect with them, find out what is happening, feel with them, celebrate with them, and all that kind. There are students who speak up, that is, they share information. They will ask questions, they will answer questions, and they are willing to share information with others. These are students who remain motivated. They encourage themselves, they look for ways of motivating themselves, and they look forward to performing well to the achievement of a degree and a graduation cap. So I want to say this, that we are seeking to be able to study well. And to do this, part of it, we must be able to adopt these habits of a successful students. These habits will help us to have peace and will help us to focus on what we came to do in Kibabi. With that, I want to draw our lesson to an end. That was study skills. Study skills will help us to be able to make the most of our time in Kibabi. And as I end, on the e-learning platform, I had indicated that we will have our Cat 1, and apparently I may have put the wrong dates. Perhaps I put the date today, and you may have been hoping for a cat. Our cat will be an online cat. It will be administered online. That means you will be able to find it on the e-learning platform. Usually it has a time duration. It is usually timed for 30 minutes. It is opened within the scheduled time, and it closes at the end of that time. So the cat will be about 30 minutes. Within that 30 minutes, you should have been able to undertake the cat and finish. The system, the e-learning platform, will be able to mark that cat, and it will give you your results. So I am working on completing that task so that by next week, I will be able to share with you what time you will log in. And when you log in, you'll be able to see the cat, you'll be able to sit for it, and you'll be able to get your results. So with that kind of thing, I want to wish you a good afternoon. I want to still encourage you to visit the e-learning platform. You are all enrolled on that platform. Mr. McDonald ensured that all of you are on that platform. So none of you will miss the cat, because you will be on campus, and you will be able to undertake the cat from your device, either your laptop or your phone. You'll be able to undertake the cat, and the system will be able to help you see your performance. So with that, I want to wish you a good afternoon. I want to ask you to revisit your notes and be prepared for the cat. With that, have a good day.